Hi, this is Shell of Shell's Creation. Today I want to show you a fun creative thing that you can do with your photos to add emphasis. It's called selective or isolated color. I'm going to use this photo of my daughter. We were visiting the apple orchard in the U-Pick section. It was late summer and it just so happens that this picture has lots and lots of this dark green in it that really doesn't convey the warmth of the fall afternoon to me, and I want to put some emphasis on that little apple that she's eating there, and I really kind of like the red of the wagon, so I'm going to emphasize both of those colors. I'm going to turn the entire picture black and white except for those two spaces. The first thing I need to do is duplicate this background layer of my photo. Okay, on the copy I'm going to make this one black and white. Control or Command Shift U. Turn the entire thing black and white, but I don't really want it to be black and white. I need that fall color, so I want it to add just a bit of a brownish tinge to it. And so I'm going to make a copy of this layer by holding down the Alt key, clicking and dragging. And on copy 2, up here under Enhance, Adjust Color, down at the bottom where it says Color Variations. My recipe for a nice brown is 2 reds and a green. So on Increase Red, click once, twice, increase green once, and then OK. It gives you a really nice sepia tone, but it's really a lot more. I don't quite want it that chocolatey brown, so I'm going to lower my opacity back down to about 50%. Now these particular numbers will depend on the layout that you're working on and the look that you're going for. I just know that this is kind of what I have in mind. And now that I have it at 50%, I'm going to hold down Command or Control E, and that merges my 2 black and white layers together. It's actually merged down, so it merged the sepia layer down onto the black and white layer. And that's the look I'm going for, except for where I want it to be colored. The next step is to add a mask. Not all versions of Photoshop Elements have masks. This is PSE 9 and it does have masks, and those after that do. It's right down here. It's an icon that looks like a square or a rectangle with a little circle in it. When you click on that, it will add a white mask to your photo. There's an important thing to understand about masks is white reveals, black conceals, or black hides things. So where we paint with black on this layer, it will hide this part. Okay, so let's change. We can either do X to exchange these 2 colors, or we can click on the little double arrow right here because we want to be painting with black. And on our brush tool, I want a hard-edged brush. And a tiny one. Let's try something like 9 pixels. And we're going to zoom way in. You'll notice that this is a very fuzzy photo. It's a fuzzy photo because, number one, I took it back in 1996 with a fairly cheap point-and-shoot film camera. And so because of that, and then I've just taken the actual print and scanned it into my computer. And so hopefully you'll have a little bit greater detail that you can work with. Also notice here on the layer mask, you see these little lines that go around the corners of it? That is an indication that right now what you are working on is the mask. It's possible to paint on the photo itself. If the mask is not selected, now you can see those lines around the photo. And now if I were to paint, I'd be painting on the photo. So make sure that you're painting on the mask, and then with the black selected, you just need to paint in what it is that you want to leave. That is not correct. My opacity was set to 25%. Okay. Then just make sure you can paint the part that you want to maintain the color on. If you want to use a tablet to do this, you can. You can just use your mouse. If it's a technique that you plan on repeating a lot, you may want to get something that makes it a little easier to paint. I'm just using the trackpad on my laptop because there's not a whole lot here that I want to paint. Smoothly around that finger. You may need to change your brush size so that you can get in a little bit closer. Let's go around that finger. I do need to go up in there a little bit more. Around that finger. Okay, let's get the bulk of this space. You'll notice that this apple is not exactly green. It's kind of yellow and orange, but that's some from the reflected light in the photo and some from just the age of the photo. If you paint somewhere that you didn't mean to paint, when you're you're examining it, you realize that you went a little too far. That looks a little too far there. The one advantage of masks is that even if it was, over here or 3 times ago, instead of having to hit Control J and go backwards through the whole thing, oh, now I need to fix that. You can just go ahead and switch back and forth between black and white by clicking on this button or X as your shortcut keys, and now paint back in with white the spot where you don't want it to show up. Right here along, I think I've got a few spots along the edge of this finger that I've actually. Okay, there we go. There's the apple. I'm going to scroll down here to the wagon. I would also like the wagon. Remember the bracket keys on your keyboard will change the size of your brush. Make sure that you're painting with the black. Also, when you're using a brush like this, you can hold down your shift key, and it will make a straight line in between where you were painting. And then I have a little bit of green right up here that was too much, so I'm going to shrink my back down, change colors, and go back to white. Paint white there, hold down the shift key, and clean it up right there. I'm not going to make you watch me do the entire thing, so I'll skip ahead to where I have this all colored in. Okay, so now I have my entire wagon filled in with black so that it shows in color and my apple showed in color. I'm ready to make a layout out of this photo. I can, at this point, if I'm comfortable with where everything's at, I can merge the two together and flatten this image. And I'm ready to put it into a layout. I'm going to be using the Apple of My Eye Quickies. I'm going to use this frame right here and this background paper from it. The Apple of My Eye Quickies are free for the first week with the purchase of Apple of My Eye bundle. Okay, here's the stacked paper background, which makes a perfect background for my photo. And I like the frame, a clustered frame, ready to go. I'll drag it down onto my layout, and I think I'll put it about right here. Now I need a place to put that photo, so I'm going to use the marquee tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle which will go around where my picture should be behind that frame. Then holding down a Command or Control, I'm going to click on the new layer icon. That's this little one right here. It says create a new layer. Because I held down Command, my new layer is going to be underneath that frame. Now I can use Alt and backspace and fill that space so I have a mask for where my photo needs to go. Now let's go back to our photo. Make sure we have the Move tool selected and drag our photo down onto that layer. Can put it in place, and I'm going to use the Alt or Control G and clip those two together. And I can move her around just a little bit. I think I might shrink her just a little bit. Because I want to get as much of the wagon as I can and her head in the photo. Okay, you can either double click on the photo when you're finished or the little green check. And there you go. There's my layout. If you have any questions about selective or isolated color, you can reach me at shells.creations1@gmail.com. See you next time.